Okay, I first off want to apologize for the short video that just made for the Friday night flashback, um, and also kind of for a short one of this video. I'm going to review the two games I just kind of played briefly. I didn't even get through the first, well, I didn't even get through the first stage of 3D World Runner, and I really didn't get through I got through class 1 of 720 degrees. There's not a whole lot to go over the games, and like I'll tell you, whenever I played them as a kid, I played 3D World Runner quite a bit as a kid, and I could get through quite a bit of it back then. I really can't do too much with it now because the game is a little bit harder to control than what it looks. You have to guide the guy left and right, and forward makes him go faster, and back makes him go, or down makes him go slower. You have to try to dodge everything. Those columns at the beginning, I forgot that you can run into those columns, those green columns, and you can get items like power-ups that you can use for to shoot enemies and things of that nature. You can get things like that. Obviously, the mushroom, you guys, if you see the mushroom come out, that typically on most other games you pick up a mushroom, like on Mario. On that game, you don't pick up the mushroom; it kills you. So, you know, there's that. But the game back then, and even now, I'm not really going to go through the entire game because I just want you guys to see certain games. I just want you to see how they are and what they are in the case that you'd want to go through them. There's going to be some that I'm going to stop on maybe a little bit later on that I will do a full playthrough of. There'll probably be like Adventure Island, Adventures of Lolo, different games that I remember that I can get through, because there's a few games that I can't get through. 3D World Runner and 720 degrees being one. 720, it's just like it was whenever I was a kid. I didn't do real well at it as a kid. I don't do real well at it now. Back to 3D World Runner, though, you'll see that I hit this one button. What's interesting about the game, and it was in the 80s, but what's interesting about the game itself is it had a button that you could press for 3D effect, because with every game that was sold, they were supposed to come with 3D glasses that you could use to play the game. I played the game with 3D glasses once or twice, and now I played it regular. I don't really see too much difference in it, game-wise. You know, the things pop out at you like a 3D effect, as if you were watching a 3D movie or a 3D video game or anything like that. It's kind of subpar by today's standards, but at the time, you know, it was kind of more revolutionary, like 3D movies were, and you know, because we didn't see things like that at that point. You know, they were still in their beginning stages. I know there was a couple of balloons that are in there. Balloons take you to a secret level where you can get more points and stuff. That's basically what the stars are for, too, is the points. But it's anything that you hit, you die on. You have to jump over the pits, or you die jumping in the pits. So it's a hard game, but you're on a timer. But if you go through and you kind of play it a few times, and you go through it quite a bit, you probably learn where everything's at and everything. And like I said, at the time that I was a kid, I would have probably played through a lot of it and gotten used to some of the level design, things like that. But the whole game, really the stuff that changes is the enemies and things of that nature. Like I said, I'm sure there's somebody that's done a walkthrough for the game. I really am not going to go through it because It's not a favorite game of mine. I would say, though, it's a good game, but it's something that you would have to commit quite a bit of time to. And like I said, a lot of these games I'm just wanting to show you guys, because some of them are games I've never seen or played before, and some of them are games I've seen or played before, but I really don't want to play again because some of them are good, and some of them are games that you would think that they would be good, and they're not. Prime examples of those is like a game that's good. Is like Super Mario Brothers 3, or I classify Adventure Island as good. Any of the three of those. I classify what else is good? Probably like a couple of the Double Dragon games. Those are good. Number 1, number 2. But then there's other games that are that you would think that are good that are not really that good, and most of them are based off of movies, and that's because they're made by LJN. And it's not that the controls are pretty bad on the LJN games. It's not that they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't have the control aspect down. I mean, and some of their games, they just made some of the stuff not so clear, and it's kind of cryptic. I'm trying to figure out what in the world you're supposed to be doing because it doesn't follow the plot of the movie. We'll get into more of those whenever we do some of those games that are sound good in theory but are a little worse than what they are. 720. And not much to say about this one. There's 4 spots on the map where you can go buy different upgrades for like your board and your pads and things like that. And then there's also, there's the 4 events. This goes on for 4 classes. You have class 1, 2, 3, and 4. Of course, you'll see on the playthrough that I can't enter one of the class 2 ones because I didn't have a ticket because I didn't have enough money. There's 4 events on every one of them. They're the same events. One's a slalom that you have to go down. You'll see as I'm going down, some of them are lit up white, some of them are lit up blue. If they're lit up blue, you've went through them the wrong way. If they're lit up white, you've went through them the right way. You want to try to go through them the right way so that when you get down to the bottom of the hill, you can get a gold medal. You either get gold or silver. There's nothing else to get. You either get gold, silver, or you don't get anything. And then nothing is represented by a tongue thing that looks like the Rolling Stones logo. For those of you that remember that and know what it looks like. But anyway, there's the slalom. There's one that's it's kind of like a jump. And I know you can't see it in the video, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to jump from one point down to the other. And you can do tricks and stuff while you're up in the air. But you have to kind of land the jump. And I didn't really land the jump real well. Another one is the little ramp that you go left and right in. I managed to do 2 jumps on that. There's button combinations that you can press in different ways and things like that. That's kind of the bane of everybody's on that game because that is such a hard thing to do because they tell you kind of in like the instruction manual how to do it, and even on some other websites you can find little hints and stuff on how to do it, but ultimately it's hard to pull off some stuff there. It's hard to do some different tricks and things. Another one is downhill, and you need to be jumping and turning whichever way the next area is going as you're going down the hill. I could have done a little bit better with that one, but the bad thing is the control. It looks like you can go left, right, up, and down, but actually, in all functionality, the control is diagonal almost all game long, because everything that's on there, even the main hub area, is diagonal skating. The events are diagonal skating. A lot of it's just diagonal. There's no straight and narrow or anything like that, or any which way. But you have to kind of, the control's a little bit hard to maneuver. It's hard to land jumps. It's hard to do jumps. I'm sure there's a couple people that have went through the game before and they say, "Oh, it's not hard to do stuff." It was hard for me to do it then. It's hard for me to do it now, and but I'm sure there's a couple people. Now, once you get through the 4 classes, once you get through the first class, you start the second class, but you have to have enough money to get into each event, and of course, there's the upgrades again. I don't know if the upgrades actually help. I've been through the second class whenever I was a kid playing it, and I didn't see where the upgrades helped or anything, but I made it through up to the third class. There's only 4 classes in the game, and after that it just repeats. So there's nothing really telling you that you beat it. Like I said, you could probably look up a walkthrough on one of the channels. If you don't, there's a timer up at the top of the screen too. If you don't get to an event by the time that timer runs down, there's a swarm of bees that starts coming after you, and it says skate or die. If you see a swarm of bees, you need to get to an event kind of quick, because after a couple of seconds they'll swipe over and they'll kill you, and that effectively ends the game. You can do tricks out in the hub with jumping on your board and stuff like that and hitting buttons, but you have to watch out because anything that's on the road or any people that are on the road or vehicles, those do damage to you and can wreck you. So you don't want to hit any of those. To put it as, we'll go over what I think of the games real quick, and then we'll go on to the next 2 games. 3D World Runner is good. It's good for what it is, and it's a good game. I just didn't want to sit there and play through it all, so I give it a pretty good review. It's a good game. If anybody can try to play it, you might want to try to play it. Try your hand at it and see how far you get. 720, skateboard fans only. That's about all I can tell you. People that like skateboarding and things of that nature, you'll love the game. I technically don't care for it myself because of the control and things like that. But I mean, there's some people that they can get it down, they can get through it. It's a lot of work for not a lot of payoff at the end of the game. So it's kind of a mixed bag for me. It's kind of in the middle of the road. It's not a horrible game, but it's not a great game either. So I could potentially just miss not doing that. The next 2 games up are going to be a little bit weird. One is called 8 Eyes. The other is called, I believe it's A Boy and His Blob. 8 Eyes is it's kind of like Castlevania, except in my opinion, it's a little bit harder. I had not played this game until maybe about a year ago, just recently, and I have a lot of trouble with it. It's kind of like Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest. It's pretty difficult though, so I'll do as much as I can on it. I'm not real sure exactly how far I can get, if I can get that far at all. But I do want to show it to you guys and just show you some of the gameplay footage. A Boy and His Blob is a game that I did play back in the day. I can't remember getting very far through it, so I'm going to try to figure out how to try to get at least a little ways so that I can show you guys some of the gameplay footage. The Boy and His Blob is, there's a boy and a little blob, and the boy has jelly beans. And depending upon what the jelly bean is what the blob will turn into. If he gives him an apple jelly bean, he'll turn into a jack. Apple Jacks. Okay. If it's tangerine, he'll turn into a trampoline, I think is what it is. But you have a limited number of jelly beans, and you feed the blob the jelly beans, and he turns into different stuff for like a couple minutes or until you use whatever it is. We'll see how that is. I did play that one whenever I was a kid. 8 Eyes, like I said, I've never played before, except for like a year ago. So we'll see how far we can get on both of them. Like I said, I just want to show you some gameplay footage. Again, if there's a game that I think that I will go through and I think I can go through and do things on, I'll play through them a little ways, or I'll play through them all the way. But things like maybe like 8 Eyes and like 3D World Runner, you're probably not going to get a playthrough from me. I just want to show you these games just in case you've never seen them before. I just want to show them to you in case you haven't seen them before. You may look them up on the internet and say, well, I want to see more of the game. And that's where, other videos on YouTube will come in. There will be people that have done playthroughs of games and things before. And, some of them do the older ones. I'm not perfect at any games in particular, but there are some that I do like to play through that I can get through. And, like I said, what we just want to do is show you games that you may not be aware of, because like I said, I had never played 8 Eyes before, and it's an interesting game, but I don't think I can get through it. But it's an interesting concept, it's an interesting thought, and I want to share that with you guys, that it is something that will be interesting and worth looking at least some of the gameplay, so you at least kind of know what's going on. Same thing with The Boy and His Blob. It's not a great game, but I want to show you people kind of what it is, so that if you want to kind of like watch through stuff. But we may do those during the week. They may be on Friday. I'm not sure what we're going to do yet on those. So we'll see how those go, and we'll catch you next time. Like I said, sorry about the short video. Sorry about the short review thing, but just wanted to get those out there. So we'll see you next time.